Welcome, and I'm going to preface my comments with the unfortunate fact that this is the second time I'm recording this video. I lost the original clip, and I've already moved on, so forgive me for that. What we have here is a synchronization installation. It's between, the two screws on a Creality printer. And these things are sold, by the way, as a kit from Tiny Machines. But at the time I inquired about it, they were out of stock, so I had to do my own. So the parts I used will be in the description. There'll be links on Amazon. Everything I bought on Amazon, by the way. Bought the pulleys here, the 9mm bore, 25 tooth, I think, pulleys. Don't quote me, it'll be in the description, but I bought them on Amazon. And the whole purpose of this thing is so that when you, in Z, raise the gantry, okay, you don't have a misstep between the two, or if there's any binding or anything going on, what's going to happen is one end will lift freely and the other end will lag behind, and you'll get failed prints. Trust me, I know. Happened to me many times in the past. One of the things I did to eliminate that problem or alleviate that problem was that, let me back up a little bit. I'll tell you what I saw over time. This machine is, 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't even remember when I bought it. It was marketed under the name of Aichy, A-I-C-H-Y, but over time I've realized that it's a Creality, and it's an S5, 500 by 500 bed. But this could be any Creality S5, okay, that has two screws on a gantry, two-stepper motors, and two screws on the Z gantry, on the Z axis. So what I found over time, because I had this problem early on many times, I would set the whole machine up, level it off, level the bed, make a few prints, be satisfied late at night maybe, and I'd shut the machine off and I'd go to bed and I'd wake up the next morning, and guess what? I couldn't print because the bed was not level. And it was actually a problem with the gantry. What was happening is every time I would turn the power off, the screws, either this one or that one, on a power off, would move slightly. And I've seen it by eye. It would just kind of, half a turn. That's all it takes. Quarter of a turn. And so the gantry would lose level, all right? The bed didn't change, but the gantry. So one side was higher than the other. And the first fix, and it worked like 95% of the time, first fix that I did was that I installed backlash nuts, anti-backlash nuts. And what they do is they have a spring and they put drag on the two screws so that when I powered off, 95% of the times the screws wouldn't move. They'd stay where they were, okay? And that worked, but the other 5% of the time, somehow, some way, one would, move a half of a step, and that was just enough to throw everything off. So that was a long explanation of, the anomaly here with this kind of setup with two supposedly synchronized stepper motors, driving one axis. Well, I did this whole video and I actually finished the video, and then I realized one of the most important things. I didn't mention the screws themselves and whether or not you're going to be able to get a pulley on top and whether or not you've got enough, threaded rod to do that. And I did, have enough. But what I did have to do was I had to get some length from this coupler. So I had to loosen the coupler and then turn the screw until I got enough thread out the top here to install this pulley. And I think I did the same thing on this side. You don't need much, you just need, let me see where the screws are here. You just need enough, to get the cinch screw, the Allen screw, to tighten down on the threaded rod. You do need to leave a little bit of space here between the block and the pulley. You got to have, it's less than a 1/16, maybe about a 32nd of an inch, but you can't have this pulley sitting right on top of the block because it causes binding. Same here, of course. Same deal. Can't get focused here. Got so much junk in the background. But you can see there's a little space. Maybe you can see it. So I'll have to insert this into the video. Hopefully it won't look too far. What we're going to do now is, and this is a better setup than my backlash nuts, my spring-loaded backlash nuts, although they're still on there. We're going to use a synchronization belt. And like I said, Tiny Machine sells these things, and they sell a kit. Comes with 2 pulleys and a belt. Costs like $20. It's not the cost of the thing, it's just that it's out of stock for this particular printer and a few others. And so I decided to do it myself. So I like I said, I ordered the pulleys on Amazon. They're 9mm bore. I think they're, 25T. I don't know much about the mechanical stuff, but they're readily available. Now, the belt I used is not readily available. It comes from China. I ordered one. I ordered it on Amazon. It took about a week and a half to get to me, so that's not too bad. But you can see that it's loose, and it's going to require an idler pulley, So having said all of that, I hope you're still with me. What we're going to do is, first off, the whole purpose of that belt is to keep those 2 motors in synchronization, So what we're going to do is, here's the deal with setting the machine up to accept this kind of system. I'm going to walk around the back here now. Forgive my cluttered garage, by the way. You can see I do a lot of things in here. When you have 2 screws like this on a machine, I'm going to back up here a little bit if I can. I'm still on the tripod here, but I got a car behind me. You see these 2 screws. When the gantry moves up, if either of these 2 screws, and I'm going to exaggerate it now, are leaning inward or outward, they are going to cause it to bind. So in order to do this modification, what you're going to do is, you see these blocks here, and by the way, these blocks are aftermarket with a bearing. I bought them separately. You don't have to do that, but I did. if the screw is either inward or outward, it's going to cause a stepper motor to bind up as you approach the top. Down here, down at the bottom, you might not notice any different. But up at the top, as it approaches, it'll cause some binding. And so what I did was, you're going to have to do a mod like this, you're going to have to loosen the two blocks so that these screws can freely move back and forth, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to take this gantry, which is kind of roughly leveled, all right? We're going to take this gantry and we're going to run it all the way up to the top. All the way up to the top. Follow my hand. So we're going to run it all the way up to the top. And as the gantry rises, it's going to self-align the two screws, if you're following me, okay? You know, if there's a screw that's out of alignment, if it's leaning in, the gantry itself will push it out, okay? So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to run it all the way up to the top. And back over here. I'm sure you guys know how to do this already. Last time I did this, and I told you I lost the clip, the original clip. So this is the second time I'm doing this. So I'm going to turn my machine on here. Let me see if I can get a little closer here. Where am I? All right. Well, here's the gantry. I'm not going to bore you to death by having you watch me run the gantry up. But here, I'm going to turn my machine on. And, you know, I'm still not accustomed to everything on the touch screen, so I'm going to use the Marlin mode here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to motion. I'm going to move axis, move Z, and I'm going to move 10 millimeters at a time. And I know from the last time I did this, it's about 490, but I'm going to go about 400. That'll put me close to where I want to be. 420. It's at 420 now. And like I said, I'm not going to bore you to death with this, but I'll get back to you when it gets up there. So I'm there, and on my machine, went up about 490, and any further than that, it binds a little bit. But you can see that the wheel's almost near the top here. There is no limit switch on the top, so you got to be careful. So anyway, like I said, the screws from the back. Let's go in the back here. These two screws are self-aligned to the gantry now. They self-aligned themselves. And, well, this is why it was binding, because eventually the extruder hits the block here. And that's why it was binding. That's why I won't go up any farther. But anyway, this is the method to use to align the screws so that there's no binding. And now I'm going to tighten down the two bearing blocks here in place. Okay. And this one, I can get the Allen in here. 1, 2. Okay. And now we're going to run it all the way back down again. And at that point, we're going to turn the machine off, and we're going to level the gantry to the frame. Okay, equidistant on the frame. And then we're going to put the belt on. And if I didn't mention it before, I'm going to mention it now. The belt is a little long on the long side. So it is going to require some kind of idler pulley. Well, make a liar out of me now. Let's see. Oh, maybe I got the wrong belt on here. This might be the original 1150. should be 1164. If I can find the number here. 1164. All right, let me get this belt on and I'll get back to you. I got the belt on. You can see it's pretty loosey-goosey. Okay, once it's, clears the pulley, it's a little, hard to get it over the top of the pulley, but once it clears the pulley, then you can see that it's loose and it's going to require an idler wheel of some sort. And I'll probably put that on the top rail here. I'll see how it goes. Let me make sure this thing's not twisted. Is it? No. Okay, I'm good. So I'm going to run it all the way back down again. You don't have to watch me do that. Okay, so I brought the gantry all the way back down. And now we're going to level the gantry. And I'm going to say right up front, I never touch this screw. All adjustments will be made on this screw, okay? Leave this alone. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a caliper. You can do this an inch, a millimeter, whatever floats your boat. I do it in an inch. And what I do is spread it out. I'm going to use this and this shoulder here, this shoulder for measurement, okay? And then I'm going to make the two ends the same, but I will not move the screw on this end. So, and by the way, you might have to get these into the grooves here, okay? Because sometimes it is a little hard to get this thing in here without interfering with anything. So I'm just going to push the rod down, and now it's on the top of the rail and in the bottom of, you probably can't see it, but it's on the bottom rail here of the CR10, and that's the measurement, 4.844. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Oops. Kick the camera there. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to make the second measurement. Oops. I don't know if I went too far. But that's the second one, 4.842, 4.844. Close enough, okay? But obviously, I already did this. So if they were off, what you would do is reach around and turn the screw to either, lower this or increase it. You never touch that screw. You do all adjustments on this screw. And you won't have a belt up there, okay? At that point, you will not have a belt. Again, I apologize that I lost the first clip, but you can see I still have a belt on there. I don't want to lose my adjustment, but I think you get the idea here, okay? So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to install this belt, and it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight going over the pulley. I'm having trouble seeing when I'm recording in the camera here. I don't even know if you can see the pulley from here. Let me lift it up a little bit. So you're going to stretch this belt over the pulley. This belt, by the way, is 1164 millimeter. All right, and what's dictating its looseness is the position of the screws in the back. Remember, we ran this whole thing up. Anecdotally, I'm going to tell you, I've heard some people I respect on the internet, okay, that have channels, and I don't want to mention their names, but they have installed the tiny machines, synchronization kit, and some of them have commented that they had to push their screws out to tighten the belt because the Tiny Machines kit does not come with an idler. Okay, so you can't tighten the belt unless you physically loosen the block in the back and push out on the screws. And obviously that's not good because you're going to cause yourself binding when the gantry tries to go up. So what I did, again on Amazon, I ordered, I don't know if that's, there you go, smooth pulley. It's got a 5mm bore and a bearing. And again, I'll give it a link to this. Comes in a bag of 5 or 6. I don't know. You can't buy one at a time, but I never checked the out. And then the OD on it. The OD is around, it's metric, so it's an 8mm OD. 8mm OD. Okay, and I don't know what the ID is, but looks like 5mm. So the inside diameter is 5mm, the outside diameter is 8mm, and the length is about 6.5. So it's a 1/4 inch, 0.25 inch. So it's not exact science, you know. It doesn't have to be the exact height of this, but the OD, the outside diameter, because this thing has a bearing, okay, you don't want, let me get into the camera's view here. I'm a terrible photographer here. There you go. With all this clutter in the background, but you don't want a spacer that's so wide that it's on the surface of the pulley. You want it on the bearing, okay? And that's why this is sized this way. You see, when you tighten it down, the pulley will still rotate. Just a note on using these T-nuts. You know, this is mounted with a T-nut in here in the slide, but it's a T-nut that can be inserted from the outside without having to slide it in an end. And here's the end over here. It's got an end cap on it. Take it out with my fingernails here. Now, I've just exposed the end of the 2020 rail here. Unfortunately, they have 2 bolts here that tie into this bottom rail. These 2 are tied together, and in order to get a T-nut in here, you'd have to take these 2 bolts out and slide it in this way. One final note on this pulley tensioner, whatever you want to call it. The closer you slide it to an extreme, the tighter it gets. And you don't have to be crazy tight with this thing, okay? But closer to the center, the looser it gets, okay? So if you do a little compromise here, just put it in the center here. And that's good enough right there. And it just has to make it taut. And so that's the end of this video. Hopefully you'll be able to do this with little or no problems. It's an easy upgrade.